Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Gut Wrench Podcast, episode number 84. Would you look at that? It took me a minute that time to sort of find it. I had to really look through the classic notes, and everything that I had to look through led me down a rabbit hole of what today's episode is all about. Slammiversary 2018, presented to you by Impact Wrestling, otherwise known as TNA. And no, we're not talking about the tits and ass. I know that I've made that joke before I was rudely interrupted by my recording software, which sometimes likes to freeze and pause and stupid shit. But we're going to take care of that down the road. Might take me around a month or maybe even 2 months, but I'm going to get another computer. And this time, not even sure if I'm going... Not even sure if I'm going to go with Apple, because it tended to happen right there again as I was recording mid-sentence. It tended to cut me off, and as it does that, I just tend to be quiet, because there's no point in trying to finish my sentence if that's what it's going to do to me, because that's really shitty. Wouldn't you know it, it did it again. Wouldn't you know it, it did it yet again. How ironic. How ironic is it that you're trying to look at a pay-per-view for a major wrestling event that happened in 2018, and then all of a sudden there's just this almost lag in my broadcast, almost like, and it did it again. What do you know? We're gonna have a field day with this one. I'm not really sure what the dealio is with Apple, but I swear if they made refrigerators, they would need updates like every 3 days. Oh yeah, and you would have to agree to the terms and services. Don't get me wrong, I like Apple as a technology company, and especially the fact that I've been locked out of previous phones before, and they've helped me to get back into those phones. For a second there, I thought that it interrupted me again. All I had to do was call 1-800-APPLE, and then they just send a security code. Or, oh, can you do a two-step verification? Oh, we sent you a code. Can you please tell me what that code is? Oh, yes, and by the way, please don't give me your password. Don't need no password. Just need to know what the code is. I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, please, I called you people for one reason. One time I called Amazon, for instance, right? And I know I'm getting off topic. A whole bunch of nonsense. Oh, nobody cares about your personal life. Calm down, Mickey Mouse. Like, who are you? Are you Goofy? Or are you the person who's here to listen to my podcast? Thank you so much, by the way. My name is Mocha. And it's really annoying whenever you go to, do the shtick was almost over until it decided to interrupt me during my introduction, of all things. My name is Mocha. Holy shit, it did it again. My name is Mocha. This is the Gut Wrench Podcast. And thank you all so much for joining me. That's the episode. I'm obviously joking because I've got a whole entire 2.5 hour episode, 2.5 hour podcast. Holy crap. 2.5 hour review that I watched earlier today, in between today and last Monday. The opening hype package shows a smorgasbord of all matches scheduled for tonight, almost like a preview of a match card. Everybody says that they're not going to lose. They're not going to allow this opportunity to slip through their fingers. Josh Hughes and Don Callis is our commentary team for this evening as we get the X Division match as Petey Williams versus Phoenix. And I'm thinking that that's the same, Ray Phoenix from AEW, but I'm not 100% for sure. Keep in mind this was 2018, not that long ago, but I didn't know that Ray Phoenix was a part of the roster in Impact Wrestling. Now I'm going to try to catch it whenever it does that to me, but unfortunately there will be times where I will be looking at my phone and I probably will not catch it at any given moment. Had that been the case, I'm not wearing headphones, and I don't know whenever it time lapses me, and I'm not sure why it's doing this, or for that matter, what exactly the problem is. Usually I'm very inept at finding solutions to common problems, so after this episode is over, I'm going to end up deleting a few files from my computer in hopes that maybe, just maybe, that's the solution to my problem. And I'm speaking in syllables simply for the pure and inept fact that I don't want to have to repeat myself whenever it comes to common occurrences that simply seem to happen, and chopping up this audio won't be so much of a problem, especially if that audio isn't going to be like me talking and then every other sentence being interrupted. Petey Williams versus Phoenix versus Ishimori versus Johnny Impact. Ishimori from this point on will be known only as the Bone Soldier, because whenever I was taking my notes, it's kind of like I didn't want to have to write or type out Ishimori every time, and for that matter it was extremely hard for me to remember his name, because I don't frequent New Japan Pro Wrestling at all. I do appreciate the fact that Impact Wrestling has an open relationship with other wrestling promotions, such as New Japan Pro Wrestling and AEW and probably PGW, GCW, probably other wrestling organizations that are under that umbrella. Progress Pro Wrestling, except for Progress Pro Wrestling recently got bought out by WWE, and all of its library got bought out recently by recently got bought out by WWE, from what I'm told. Anyway, here's some spots to that particular wrestling match. Impact Wrestling chants before the match even begins. The crowd seems to be excited and they're very passionate. Phoenix from the outside to get into the ring. Johnny with I don't know why. Oh, okay. Now I know why. Okay, so the reason that I was calling Johnny Impact by his first name, Johnny, is because that's what he's obviously known as, Johnny. And I didn't want to put Impact and then confuse myself later in my note. Thank you. Confuse myself later in my notes. And whenever I say thank you, by the way, that was just an impromptu me being fucking cut off by this goddamn fucking software. And obviously what if my notes here was to say Impact, like I was calling him by his last name, it would be extremely disorienting for me. Or if I would have put Mr. Impact, it would have been extremely disorienting for me to have to read off each and every time. Johnny gets a great looking springboard from the top rope, kicking Petey in the grill and finding his mark. Both men looking for a moonsault, but moonsaults. Backhand spring, upside down kick, but Johnny moved out of the way of Phoenix when he tried it. Phoenix on a huge rana from the top rope onto Johnny. Petey Williams gets a rally of a drop kick. He gets a toe hold into a basement drop kick, and he looks great with a side Russian leg sweep, and he only gets the 2 count. This is Impact chants by a passionate crowd. His body's flying everywhere. Action is so packed it's hard to keep up with, but I'm just writing down some of the highlights so that I can keep up with, some of the highlights that I myself, Mocha, the wrestling genie, the Gordon Ramsay of professional wrestling, can keep up with. Back to what I was saying before I was rudely interrupted. Hate this fucking dog shit. Holy shit chants from the crowd as Phoenix dives down from the top rope onto the 2 athletes at the bottom, which are Johnny Impact and Petey Williams. The Bone Soldier, like I said, I'm going to be referring to the Japanese competitor in this professional wrestling setting as the Bone Soldier, because that's apparently the ring name that they decided to go with for him, saying that he's been known as the Bone Soldier for the duration of his Impact Wrestling as well as his New Japan Wrestling run. Impact Wrestling chants by a passionate crowd. Phoenix with a second rope drop kick from Petey onto Petey Williams after the Bone Soldier power bombed Johnny Impact and Petey Williams. It was a beautiful 4-man spot that showed the superplex from the top rope. The Bone Soldier ended up using his power, and for that matter his resourcefulness, in order to catch both Petey Williams and Johnny Impact on the top rope and powerbomb them both onto there was a 4th competitor, and I don't know where he went, but he powerbombed him onto the 4th competitor. Petey Williams, Johnny Impact, Ishtar. I swear. I'm losing. Oh, Phoenix. They powerbombed him onto Phoenix. Sorry that I lost my spot there. Usually I'm not the one to do that. Petey Williams hits a Canadian Destroyer, but neglects to get the pinfall. And for some reason I didn't put who he hit the Canadian Destroyer onto. But he ends up hitting the Canadian Destroyer, neglecting to get a pinfall, and his opponent rolls out of the ring. Phoenix. So then after that, Johnny Impact off the super kick from the Star Champagne to get the victory from Petey Williams. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Thought it was a thoroughly entertaining match. Had a lot of huge spots and a lot of great talent to perform in that contest. as all of you know, we are on strike from WWE, and in case you don't know, this is a matter of I'm going to give in or they're going to give in. So if I give in, you see, I'm giving them what they want. I'm giving them more attention, more airtime, and I'm telling them almost like a dog. A dog pees on the rug, and you give that dog a treat. Now, by giving that dog a treat, that's called positive reinforcement. And in doing so, you're promoting that bad behavior. You see what I'm doing here? I'm not giving that dog any treats until they conform to what it is that I want. Now, a lot of you might be like, well, who even cares about what you want? But a lot of you are neglecting to understand something. I'm kind of a big deal in the wrestling community. Now, a lot of you may or may not realize that, but you're going to realize it soon enough that sooner or later they're going to come crawling back to Papa and understand I'm Papa. Now, a lot of you might be wondering, what makes me, before I got rudely interrupted yet again, Papa? You see, ladies and gentlemen, according to Spotify Wrapped, as of last year, I make about 85%, if I remember correctly, more content than other people in my category. And if that's the case, the small margin, the small gap of 15%, well, ladies and gentlemen, I've got a lot to offer. Let's say that you own 85% of a company. Hello? What the fuck? Let's say that you own 85% of a company before I was rudely interrupted. And throughout that 85% of the company that you own, there's another 15% that somebody else owns. You're virtually in charge. You're virtually the knee that they bend to. You don't have to ask them for much of anything. They have to conform to what it is that you are asking for. Or for that matter, in my case, demanding. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have been champion for a 10-week stretch as of this week. So therefore, I've got some good news, ladies and gentlemen. According to the highlights that I seen about a week and a half ago, Imperium's Gunter defeated Kevin Owens in a wrestling match via pinfall. And if that's the case, perhaps this is a sign of things to come. Perhaps that is a winds of change blowing in those directions. For those of you wondering, that's a good thing. I don't mind looking at Impact Wrestling, and I do appreciate the fact that I've had to take the time to look at other things other than WWE being shoved down everybody's throat every week. But the WWE is kind of it's kind of what I'm accustomed to. So it's hard to look at another company that I'm not exactly familiar with, you know? Nonetheless, this first contest I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Madison Rayne beat Tessa in a one-on-one competition 2 times, and the second time Tessa had had enough and snapped and take revenge from what she calls a fluke victory. And I put fluke victory, of course, in air quotes, because Tessa, my girl, you've been beat twice. Can't be a fluke. Come on. Wrong place, wrong time. My shoes were untied. The sun was in my eyes. All of these are common. You know, they're like scapegoats. You can only use them once or twice. Oh, you put sand in my eyes. You know, my shoes were untied. You know, I didn't see the bottom rope in front of me. It was my bad day. You know, I didn't wake up on the right side of the bed. My hair wasn't straightened. You know, you can make all the excuses in the world, just like I've made some for you. But Tessa, let's be honest. Madison Rayne beat you clean 2 times. That's what I was thinking whenever I was watching the hype package. And another thing that Impact Wrestling did really, really poorly, which is, I know a lot of you thought that I was going to say really, really good, but really, really poorly throughout this contest, or throughout this entire event, rather, not just this contest. Only told the story from one person's point of view. Now, for those of you wondering what it is that I'm yammering about, what exactly does that mean? Okay, let's say that Hitler, for instance, he wrote a book. Well, we always hear from the Jewish people who were put in their concentration camps, right? But who actually stopped to read Hitler's book and then say, man, this guy makes a lot of good... Man, okay, once again, interrupted. Man, this guy makes a lot of good points. You know, he should be a politician. But before we get into that, allow me to go ahead and look at something irrelevant right now. Now, a lot of you might be wondering, why are we looking at irrelevant shit? Why does that have to happen right now? And for those of you who aren't wondering that, and you're excited for the irrelevant nonsense that I'm about to bring up, it's the fact that once upon a time, probably about 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 years ago, I was browsing through Walmart whenever I happened to see the magazine section. And from the magazine section, I happened to see a woman wrestler in her woman wrestling outfit, and she happened to be holding up a plaque. Now, that plaque was for Wrestler of the Year. And I thought that was interesting. You know, Wrestler of the Year. Okay, well, picked it up, read through it a little bit, and I remember distinctly there being an article in it about Tessa Blanchard, the person that we will be talking about here in just a second. And I tried to figure out what year that was. So, she was only ranked, in 2014 she wasn't ranked. 2015, she got a 42 rank out of 100. I'm pretty sure. In 2016, however, she did a lot better. She got a 38 rank out of 100. And in 2017, she went down a little bit more. She got a 43 rank. So 2015, she got a 1 higher rank than what she did in 2017. Now, in 2018, they ranked her 15th out of 100. In 2019, I think that says, yep. 2019, she was ranked, in 2019, back to what I was saying, she was ranked 5th, and in 2020, she was ranked 7th. For those of you who don't know why this is menial or what exactly it is, I took the liberty of going ahead and pulling up her, because I don't like being wrong. So, in order to stop myself from being wrong or coming on here and giving false information, basically saying, oh yeah, I remember one year where Tessa Blanchard was ranked number 1 wrestler in the world. So I do apologize for the really shitty audio quality. For whatever reason, it keeps pausing my fucking audio, and I don't appreciate that. But anyway, I thought that it would be a good idea to just go ahead and try to find some sort of relevant information about her ranking, and in doing so, I thought that I'd found a few things, and I did. Pro Wrestling Illustrated ranked her 5 of the top 100 female wrestlers, and it doesn't tell me what year that was, but if I go back 2019, and for whatever reason, to rank someone number 5 and then have them, grazing the top 5, but still have them on the cover of the magazine, I would assume that one, you don't know how to do your job, or 2, she shouldn't have been on the cover. She should have been on the, the fucking, whenever you open the magazine, or she should have been on the back. Either way, she would have been on the cover of the magazine. She would have been on the back of the magazine. She would have been on the front of the magazine. Wouldn't really mattered, but I searched long and hard, and I couldn't find the fucking cover to the magazine that I was looking for. I did see that she ranked runner-up for, even though it doesn't say that on Wikipedia for whatever reason, but who knows, anything's even accurate on Wikipedia these days. Yeah, I seen that she was ranked runner-up for 2 years running whenever Becky Lynch won in a 2-year stretch, which was 2020 and 2019. However, had that been the case, this match was an absolute bomb. And I mean, it went off, and there was an explosion. There really wasn't any explosion, and I'm not making terroristic threats. They talk about the dynamic between Allie and Rosemary. According to Allie, they were best friends. And to see her best friend get put into a casket and watch it get set on fire was heartbreaking. And was quite upsetting and traumatizing. Bullies, and she feels as though that Tessa is a bully, and for that matter, a sore loser. After losing to Madison Rayne is one of the, in one-on-one contest, this is why Allie decided to intervene herself into a match against Tessa Blanchard, because she felt as though that Tessa was much of a bully. And she stands up to bullies, does Allie. Allie really gives me vibes of early Alexa Bliss, because Bliss used to do the same thing. She would come out and she would be all glitter. Just 1 second. Glitter and sparkly, and, she would come out and she would blow glitter at the fans, and she would be all happy and unicorns and, your typical girl, because we all know that girls are all about unicorns and smiley faces and rainbows and sugar, spice, and everything nice. Right, guys? Tutus and balloons and hearts, Definitely all those hearts. I'm being facetious, in case you can't tell. Women are everything nowadays. I mean, Barbie can be G.I. Joe if she wants to. So, I'm not here to gender stereotype anything. Tessa takes back control of this match off of a pin and a series of mounted punches and gets a drop kick and a snapmare takedown that only gets a 2 count. Allie gets a suplex into the corner, but it doesn't phase Tessa. Tessa catches the super kick. Allie calls the best super kick ever. Reminds me of Christopher Daniels calling his famous moonsault the BME, the best moonsault ever. An alley driver to Blanchard onto the outside of the ring, and we get a double down from both ladies. Tessa really selling her leg and midsection being hurt. Little bit of suspense building on the referee starts to count both women on the outside, but they beat the 10 count at around 9.999.90 seconds of a second. A lumbar check, a backbreaker, a slash backbreaker gives Allie a 2 count. Rana, however you want to, I mean, they call it a Rana, but I honestly think that it was a Frankensteiner. So I don't know what it upset me so much that I had to go into my DMs and I had to ask a friend of mine, hey, Hurricane Rana and a Frankensteiner, they're the same move, right? And then minutes later I got a response being like, oh, there's very distinct variations of each move. So maybe it is a Frankensteiner or maybe it is a Hurricane Rana. And then I said, well, a small package is a inside cradle, right? And then he's like, no, it's not. Yes, it is. Literally the small package and the inside cradle are the same thing. That's why I make 85% of the view. Forget it. I'm not about to flex that again. And if you haven't already seen the merchandise, it's up to around 120 designs. Thank you all so much, ladies and gentlemen. If you are enjoying the product that you see, maybe you want to support me on Patreon. I don't have a Patreon. I'm joking. I swear this episode's going to be nothing but ads, Like, are you tired of feeling tired? Contact your doctor about this new medication that's not going to make you feel tired at all. Side effects may include nausea, diarrhea, upset stomach, headaches, morning tiredness, Ask your doctor about this new medication today. And then another ad comes on, and then it's like, do you like wrestling? Okay, anyway, a cover, counter into a backslide by Tessa, only to get a 2 count with a great looking code breaker by Allie, only to try for a pin. Rolls out of the ring last minute after Allie puts Tessa back into the ring, hits her with the best super kick ever for a pinfall, only gets a 2. Tessa kicks out yet again. Tessa counters an alley driver, which looks to be a wonderful almost like variation. if I can say that, of a DVD or a Death Valley driver, which we'll see a lot of those tonight, but later on in the evening, rather. An alley driver into a hammerlock DDT to pick up the victory for the win. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. What a match. What a beautiful performance by both ladies. A great story was told here. The story was a little weak, but the story in the ring that they told was really good. But the story as far as, like, oh, my name is Allie and I'm here because I don't like bullies, Tessa, and you're not going to attack Madison Rayne because I seen my best friend Rosemary get put into a coffin and be put on fire, just because I don't like bullies and I don't appreciate what Su Yung did. And don't worry, we'll get to Su Yung in just a moment, because she's got a match too. I'm pretty sure it's after the next match. After the next match. So not the next match, but after that match. Anyway. It was a pretty weak story as far as all things considered, because it's not like that Tessa was going to throw Madison Rayne into a coffin and light it on fire just because she's mad that she lost and she's a sore loser. And honestly, I was expecting Tessa to lose here because consistent booking would suggest that Tessa lose here, and whenever she would lose here, it would be somewhat of a oh, not only did she lose to Madison Rayne, but also she lost to Allie, kind of like she's the jobber trying to make them look good. But as she said, Madison Rayne has a, quote, fluke victory over her, and that might be true. That might be true because she just proved it to Allie, and also to me. We get an interview from Moose, who's later on tonight going to be taking on the Impact Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion, Austin Aries. Later on tonight, we'll be meeting the world champion in the ring for 1v1. He's a former NFL star that says, feeling good, looking good, and playing good. I'm sorry to say that no one cares. No one ever compares pro wrestling to football. You can do that. I don't think you can do that. Pro wrestling is a whole nother can of worms, and football is a team sport. Wrestling, you're mostly working alone, and you have to rely on your own performance to get you through most of your shows. Now, don't get me wrong, professional wrestling is a team sport. In some aspects, it can be seen as a team sport. Do not hear what I'm saying the wrong way. However, whenever you're out there, you cannot, I repeat, you cannot rely on your team, your opponent, to carry your match. Because if you do that, and it's only a one-sided performance, and someone sees that Mr. 5-Star over here is putting on a hell of a performance, while Mr. Donuts over there isn't giving you not jack shit as far as a performance goes, then you're going to have a problem. There's going to be a little bit of miscommunication as far as leagues go. As far as, hey, this performer is in a whole nother league, it's going to not only drag the match down, but it's going to drag down that golden performer. If that makes sense. But a lot of things in football, he's talked about his football career and all that. It really made me mad. It really rubbed me the wrong way that he wants to sit here and talk about football. A perfectly good game of football. Fuck football. Football's retarded. Football's stupid. Whole bunch of bullshit, man. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about football. Every time that I ask someone if they're a wrestling fan, they're like, no, but I watch football. Why, you stupid fucking redneck? You ever not decided against watching football or basketball or NASCAR, hockey? I mean, hockey's okay. I've actually enjoyed a few hockey games because they build suspense. They're quite entertaining, if you will. I'm not even Canadian, and I can enjoy a good hockey game. As far as basketball, football, NASCAR, these are all the top sports. I know it's hard to hear. The top sports in America, by the way. If you Google what's the top sport in America, I bet you $10 it don't show up baseball, because that's apparently America's favorite pastime. Bullshit. When's the last time that a baseball stadium actually fucking sold out? Tell me. You can't tell me because it's not true. It's boring to watch a man throw a ball and then... Did I hit it, coach? I don't know. It looks like it's going past the third base. Oh, I've never made it to third base before. You know, just a whole bunch of virgins on a fucking ball field. It's all you get, man. Anyway, Moose compares NFL to Impact Wrestling, which there is no comparison. Obviously, wrestling is the better sport. Eddie Edwards versus Tommy Dreamer, because apparently Eddie Edwards has this obsession, this I'm not even going to read my notes. I'm just going to go off of what it was that I watched. So he has this obsession with he's got this obsession against Sami Callihan, the Death Machine, Sami Callihan, who's beaten him time and time and time and time again, and he can't shake the feeling that Callihan is not the better man, and that he knows that he can defeat Sami Callihan. So Tommy Dreamer tries to come to his aid, and then he tries to tell him, "Hey, listen, man, don't let it eat you up. Don't let it get to you. You know, you're a great performer. For that matter, you're a great kid. You know." He's like, "Don't let that get to you." So somehow Tommy Dreamer ends up being accused of sleeping with Eddie Edwards' wife, because of course he's hanging around Eddie Edwards and Eddie Edwards' wife. And according to the story that they're portraying here, Eddie hasn't talked to his wife in over like 4 or 5 weeks, but Tommy has. Dreamer's talked to Eddie's wife, so that's what led Eddie to believe that Dreamer was sleeping with his wife. You know, "You're having relations with my wife? What the hell, man? You know, I thought I looked up to you. I thought we were friends. And for that matter, I can't beat this guy and I can't get him out of my head." And then Dreamer says, "I can resonate with you, man. I can resonate with you because I used to have an obsession over someone that I couldn't beat." Of course, they don't verbalize who that is, but it's, if you know Tommy Dreamer's career, well, they do verbalize it, but on commentary, the performers don't say it. If you know Tommy Dreamer's career, then you're obviously going to know who that is. That's Raven. Raven always beating Tommy Dreamer, and Dreamer's like, "You know what? You're not better than me," and then the whole big da-da-da, and then the whole big ju-ju-ju, and then the whole big nye-nye. We get ECW chants. Dreamer hits Edwards with a cookie sheet upside the head. Hits Edwards with an aluminum garbage can off the skull. More ECW chants by a passionate crowd. Tommy Dreamer chants. "You sick fuck" chants. As Eddie Edwards grabs a staple gun from under the ring. So yeah, he might be a sick fuck, because let's just hope that the staple gun doesn't have any staples in it. Oh yeah, and by the way, it's got staples in it, because they end up stapling each other in the forehead This is a common tactic nowadays with wrestling promotions to do this, to sort of raise the bar. Nintendo 64 game reference. When Tommy Dreamer gets a weapon from the crowd. So back in the days of Nintendo 64, might be hard to really capture this whole entire aura that we're going for here, but I remember that whenever you were in a hardcore match, much like this, or a street fight, or whatever they're calling this, what they're calling it is a House of Hardcore match. So it's good that Impact Wrestling doesn't stray from the terminology hardcore, because WWE does. Mostly because the word hardcore, if you type it into Google, I'm sure that you'll find hardcore BDSM, hardcore porn, hardcore, my sister fucking my mom, stuff like that. I was slapping her ass, hardcore. I don't know. It's so weird, but okay, sure. At least that joke landed without me being interrupted. So, thank you so much for Apple computers. Hopefully I don't end up eating my words within the last 14 and a half minutes. Anyway, with the Nintendo 64 game, what would end up happening is if you wanted a weapon for your character to smack the other guy with, you had to go outside the ring, grab it from the crowd, and if they liked you, they would give you a weapon. But if they don't like you, or if your momentum is so low, which there was a momentum bar in these games, then you wasn't getting shit. And the crowd would be like, hey, no weapon for you. You don't deserve it. Fuck him up, Dreamer, fuck him up. We get a chant like this. Fuck him up, Dreamer, fuck him up. Which, of course, is Tommy Dreamer. Going up top of the turnbuckle, and he's about to put Eddie Edwards through a table. And not only that, but Dreamer grabs this lighter fluid, and he's about to light this table on fire, but a Super Death Valley driver only gets a 2 count. I don't know why I didn't put down who did the move, but I'm going to say that it was Tommy Dreamer, seeing as though that was his finishing move. Tommy gets a table and the lighter fluid, Shining Wizard to end the match with Edwards picking up the victory. The crowd looked really not liking the match was over like that. I give it 3 out of 5 stars. Was a nice match, told a good story, had great moments, was short, not too long, even though it had great moments. It didn't have like the big match feel, like it didn't have like too many counters, like like that Ali and Tessa match had. There were so many times where I thought that Tessa had Ali beat, but no, Ali would kick out, and then you would see like the look on Tessa's face, and then she would be like, How is she still alive? Like, you should have died from what I just got done doing. Well, not died, but you know what I mean. The X Division Championship match as Matt Sydal faces off against Brian Cage. I'm not even going to read my notes because we're close to the end, and I just want to go ahead and do the rundown as to what happened. Because my notes is like 10 paragraphs long, so I'm not going to do that. Anyway, Matt Sydal basically says that you need to open your third eye. And by doing so, he's realized something. That by opening your third eye, like he has, he can see all of Brian Cage's weaknesses. And in doing so, he thinks that Brian Cage's ultimate weakness will be his downfall. He also talks, and here's one of the things that I was talking about earlier too, the fact that we only get one side of the story. You see, mostly in a wrestling promo, you're going to get this side, my side, and then we're going to get, let's say if I was cutting a wrestling promo, it would be something along the lines of, he's done, he's finished, he can't keep up with me, he's nothing to me, I ended you last night, and you should have died, something like that. And then we get the other side of the story, which is, of course, the opponent's side of the story, which if I was to say something like, I've ended you, I'm done fucking with you, you should be dead right now, I put you in a coffin, and I don't even know how you're standing right now, then we would get the other half of that story. You did nothing but delay the inevitable. You see, you said, and what you did say was a mistake, that I was going to sink like the Titanic. But unbeknownst to you, the Titanic's voyage was 90% complete, which is more than I can say for you. Something like that really hits home, where it's not only me telling you that side of the story, but it's this other jackass too. And from there, you're going to get two sides of the same coin, a story being told that you would have to buy on pay-per-view just to see. However, we only get one side of the story, and that being Matt Sydal, the champion, who tells us all about Brian Cage's weaknesses. We never hear from Brian Cage, so we don't know whether or not he has said weaknesses. The thing that I found to be extremely funny is the fact that if you're going to do that and only tell one side of the story from that one person's point of view, why is it that one person lost? I mean, you're putting stock into someone saying, hey, listen to their story, listen to how they're telling their story, and then, oh, but we swerved you, look at that, you just got shenanigans. This other guy just won, and you never even heard him talk. So what's up with, if this was an anime, and the main character was telling his side of the story only to get killed like 30 minutes later, which is about the length of this match, which I don't know if I even should, because I'm down on time at this point, because I spent so much time trying to not get the pause feature, Brian Cage wins with a reversal of the shooting star press and wins to become the new champion. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. Nicely paced, was a great contest. Good athlete-wise, but a few inconsistencies that I have with it. The beginning of the match, before the match begins, rather, the prepackaged promo that shows Matt Sydal telling us why he's going to win, but one thing that we don't see in that prepackaged promo was Brian Cage's point of view, as I'd stated before. And I basically just summed up my whole entire thing here with, my notes. Passionate promo by the champion, Austin Aries, who basically says that he's going to be on his best when the lights shine the brightest, which is consistent with Austin Aries and his whole demeanor. He is on his best when the lights shine the brightest. I have to give Austin Aries credit where credit is due. Any time that I've seen Austin Aries in what seems to be a big match feel, it always feels as though that Austin Aries is one of the, if not the biggest star in the match that he's in. And sure, there is a hashtag that you can follow if you choose to do so. Hashtag Austin Aries pissed me off, if you wanted to look at those tweets, because he frequently pisses people off. I'm not sure how, but he's a good character. He's a good heel. He's a good bad guy. Moose says that this is his dream. Well, Austin Aries, for him, it's his reality. Moose talks about his career after tonight. He's going to be looking for a third career choice after tonight. So as you already know, he's competed in the NFL. He's been a professional wrestler. So Aries is basically saying he's going to give him a fucking tumor. He's going to knock his lights out. He's finally going to end the story, the fairy tale story rather, of Moose. He's going to be finito, done, caliente. I want to say something else, but I'm not sure if it's the right terminology. Rosenin. Yep, I'm not able to roll my R's. Austin Aries with a great promo. Su Yung versus Madison Rayne. In the promo package for this match, Madison Rayne tries to say that she's not afraid of ghosts, monsters, don't exist, and she also says that she tells her daughter that every night before she tucks her into bed. Monsters don't exist. The only problem of that being is that Su Yung has made Madison Rayne's life a living hell, making her see a reflection of herself in a coffin, and Su Yung surrounds herself by what I can assume is ghosts, goblins, demons, insects, pedophiles. I'm not sure. It's just these people who are dressed up almost like they're some sort of love child of Marilyn Manson and Madison Rayne. Oh my God. I meant to say Marilyn Manson and Charlie Manson. Is that his name? Charlie Manson? Was it Charles Manson or was it Charlie Manson? It's not important, I guess. But it's just these people in these robes that keep following Su Yung around, who is, by the way, our Impact Women's Champion. And Madison Rayne is a 5-time Impact Women's Champion. And you would figure where Madison Rayne had already, and this is more inconsistencies, and not only that, but we only hear the story from Madison Rayne's point of view. We no longer hear from Su Yung. We don't hear any creepy story from Su Yung, who has gotten inside of the head of Madison Rayne. We only hear from Madison Rayne, the challenger. In this case, earlier it was the champion that we heard for in Matt Sydal. Only for a clothesline to get Madison Rayne a 2 count. Hits off the cutter. Only for a 2 count. Madison hits a move I remember seeing MVP hit as his finisher back in like 07 or 08. He called it the Playmaker neck breaker, only to get a 2 count. But fun factoid here. Josh Matthews says that she calls it the raindrop. So whether it's called the Playmaker neck breaker or whether it's called the raindrop, it still gets her a 2 count. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. I didn't put the finish down here. That is so stupid. I swear to God, I hate people. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. This was not a story too much to this one. Not much of a story was told. And once again, I'm noticing, the trend here. The person only hears one side of the story. It ends up losing. So once again, I'll say this: if this was an anime and that was the main character that had made it, let's say 17 or 25 episodes, only to lose their ultimate goal, I would wonder what was the point, unless it was to take a drastic turn, usually meet an end boss or bad guy, person standing in your way, like to build up to a wrestling match, or for that matter something else. There's 7 or 10 or 14 episodes of just, oh, you'll see, I'll get you, and like, let's say Pokemon, for instance, Ash Ketchum, even years later, he's still trying to catch them all, I think, right? Fucking, what's his goddamn name? Luffy, fucking One Piece. What's it been, like 14, 18 years? And he's still trying to fuck bitches, get money? No, it's not what he's doing. Okay, is he still looking for some stupid fucking treasure that probably doesn't exist? Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know. Now we go to our I don't want to say main event, because it's more like a co-main event, but this one was very overwhelming, and not to mention the fact that it's going to take me way too long to explain any of this. But a 51-50 street fight for the Impact Tag Team Championship. So, the OGs, Homicide and Hernandez, used to be called the LAX. Now, that used to be their name, and this match confused the fuck out of me. It really fucking did, because LAX is now Santana and Ortiz. For whatever reason. The OGs, however, are known as Homicide and Hernandez, which I remember them being called, say it with me now, LAX, Latin American Exchange. They used to run with each other, and for that matter, do shit, Impact Wrestling at a wild fucking... What am I trying to say? It was like a wild yard. You never knew what you were going to get or what you were going to get into. And tag team wrestling was abundant in Impact Wrestling back in 05 or 06. But that was the last time that the OGs, otherwise known as the LAX, or the original LAX rather. Now I see why they're called the OGs. It makes sense. But apparently there's a team that stole their name. I'm not sure how that works, And for the most part, this match confused the hell out of me, because I kept thinking that LAX was, of course, Homicide and Hernandez. But they kept referring to them as the fucking OGs. And then I was like, that makes no sense. Because LAX should be Homicide and Hernandez, and the OGs, if anything, should be Santana and Ortiz. So I'm just going to fast forward to like the end. I don't know why I took so many notes. If I was just going to fast forward to the end, we get the "This is awesome" chants. Hernandez with an outsider's edge onto Ortiz. I'm sorry, Hernandez with a outsider's edge to Ortiz through a table. We get an Impact Wrestling chant by a passionate crowd, a body slam onto thumbtacks to Hernandez, and a frog splash from Santana to keep the tag team championships 4 out of 5 stars. Even though he got hit with an outsider's edge, Ortiz was still able to finish the match. Even though he got put through a table. We get a holy shit chant from the crowd. A super blockbuster by LAX. And the blockbuster neckbreaker they only get a 2 count as Hernandez pulls the ref out of the ring, save the match last minute. Like I said, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. After the match, the OGs get some sort of measure of revenge, I guess you could say, and they end up beating up the old man that's with the, not the LAX, the OGs, because the LAX is now the new boys, I guess. The other two. So afterwards, they beat up the old guy that's with them, named Conan. Which, by the way, he's one of the OGs in actually like Impact Wrestling, if I remember correctly. And Conan has also, believe it or not, messaged me on Twitter around a year ago saying, "Hey man, you listen to my podcast, right?" And then I'm like, "No, I don't. I'm sorry." And he's like, "Oh, okay, well, here's the link to it, and in 2 weeks we'll give you a shout out." So I waited about 2 weeks, about 3 weeks, about 4 weeks, and I listened and I listened and I listened, and I never got that shout out. And then, what do you know? Around 3 to 5 months later, maybe a little bit more, give or take, I was scrolling through Twitter and I found someone else who got a message from Conan saying something along the lines of, "Hey man, you listen to my podcast, right? Well, in like 3 weeks, we're going to give you a shout out." And I was like, "Oh, okay. So this is just a common occurrence that this man just seems to do all the fucking time. He doesn't give a fuck about anyone who's trying to make any sort of content, or for that matter, build their goddamn platform, but that's okay. That's okay. Do you know why? Because I think it was, wasn't it 75% of people who are in my category? I've made more than 75% of you who are in my category, and thank you so much for tuning into the Gut Wrench podcast. Even after the 51-50 street fight, we've still got matches to go. And I'm just summarizing at this point because, not because I want it to be over or anything like that, but because I don't want you to have to sit through a 2-hour wrestling podcast, you know? I've exhausted much of my time. Sami Callihan promises Pentagon Jr. will be unmasked tonight. No one has faith in him. Everyone thinks that he's going to lose tonight's match and be embarrassed by someone like Pentagon Jr., but they're wrong. And tonight's hair versus mask, Callihan, Death Machine, has tried to take off the mask, Pentagon Jr., but he seems to be stopped at every point. Pentagon is there to topple his plans. So the rich history of luchador wrestling, I'm not really sure where it came from, to be all quite honest with you. I don't have like a magic book in front of me telling me exactly when that started, or for that matter, where exactly the whole pride of the mask comes into. Now, it says here on my notes that I'm supposed to reference CM Punk versus Rey Mysterio, and I'm going to do that. I had the idea to open this show actually with CM Punk singing Happy Birthday to Elite. Now, I had the idea to open, we're going to keep doing this until we get it right. I had the idea to open today's episode with a clip from WWE, but I decided not to because we are on strike from WWE. Therefore, for inconsistency reasons, or for that matter, consistency reasons, I decided not to do that. Anyway, the clip would have been of just the audio, CM Punk singing happy birthday to Aaliyah. Now, it's not the fact that he's singing happy birthday to a little 9-year-old, it's what he says, or rather, how he presents himself to sing happy birthday to Aaliyah, this little 9-year-old little girl who just so happened to be at her daddy's workplace, i.e. Rey Mysterio's workplace, at the time that this happened. For some reason, Rey Mysterio and his family were in the ring, to give you some context, and Rey was just asking CM Punk, please, Punk, not in front of my family. But Punk came out, and whenever he did, he heard that it was Leah's birthday, and he just wanted to sing her happy birthday. And for that matter, he wanted to fight. He wanted to fight Rey Mysterio, and Mysterio said no. Mysterio's just cowered in fear, saying, please, CM Punk, please understand, not right now, not in front of my family. But CM Punk got down on his knees, and he said, I'll even get on your level, Rey Mysterio. And for some reason, for some convoluted reason, CM Punk had it in his mind that Rey Mysterio was hiding behind a mask. And that mask was more important to him than his family. That mask was the most important thing to Rey Mysterio. And in some cases, I've got to say, history as far as the lucha wrestling, the mask probably is one of the most important things in a wrestler's it's kind of like your pride, you know. Not to say that, you know, your dick size isn't like something that you look forward to whenever you're talking to a woman, but, you know, I mean, wearing a wrestling mask to a first date really isn't going to help you, but having a hard-on straight from, I'll just stop right now. But it's the point of, it's the pride, you know? Not the pride of Mexico, I wouldn't say that, but it's the pride of, this is my mask, and this is a representation of me. I guess. I never really understood it myself, but I've never had to live in Mexico to know what it's like to have a unmasked match. This match is hair versus mask. If Sami Callihan loses, he has to shave bald, or his opponent has to shave him bald, rather. And if Serpentico, holy shit, I just fluffed his name. If Pentagon Jr., rather, loses, he must unmask. I'll give you some of the highlights to it, but this match was really good. Beautiful hype package starts to build. Beautiful hype starts to build for Pentagon as the crowd starts chanting something in Spanish. I'm not sure what it is. It's something like Sintum Pertank. Sintum Pertank. They must be talking about drugs, because I'm not 100% sure what he's saying. A sling blade by Penta, looking for a series of super kicks, and they get traded back and forth by both men. Callahan grabs something from a crowd member and hits Penta in the face with it. They trade Ric Flair like chops on the outside until Penta hits Callahan. Penta with a kick to the calf, rather, buckling his knees off of the chops that we were talking about. Crowd member tells Callahan that everything in Ohio sucks. As Callahan knocks Penta upside down on his head with a nasty chair shot, Callahan starts ripping and tearing at the mask of Pentagon. And the crowd starts chanting asshole, Callahan is trying to get what looks like a stake or some sort of spike to the face or the eye of Penta. Penta is bleeding out from the side of his mask and from the side of his head, rather, as the death machine continues to assault Penta. Fuck you, Sammy chants from the crowd. What a heel. Penta gives Callahan a taste of his own medicine by taking what stake or railroad spike to Callahan's forehead and then driving it up and down with a metal ball bat. The crowd is coming unglued as Callahan starts to bleed. Holy shit chants from the crowd. I challenge any other wrestling promotion in the world to try to keep up with this, is what Don Callis says, and honestly, I gotta agree with him. During this match, honestly, I don't think he's wrong. Don't think any other wrestling promotion can really compete at this level that these two men are on. Impact Wrestling chants, Fight Forever chants from the crowd, a passionate crowd, by the way. Only a 2 count from Penta off of the backstabber. Break his arm chant. Callahan throws salt or sand in the eyes of Penta, and he couldn't see. He thought that the referee was Callahan, and so he started to try to break his arm. Shout out to referee Johnny Bravo, by the way, for really selling the arm injury that Penta gave him. And the crowd starts chanting, "You fucked up." Chant of the crowd directed toward Penta hits the Penta driver, but there's still no ref. While the referee is writhing in pain, Callahan hits a stuffed power driver that was passed on to him by Mick Foley. Mick Foley gave him apparently some sort of permission to use the stuffed power driver, which of course Cactus Jack used to use back in the day, which really goes to be the third move that Cactus Jack has given someone, because if you think about it, there's the Future Shock DDT from Drew McIntyre, and the Dirty Deeds DDT would later become the Paradigm Shift given to Jon Moxley, otherwise known as Dean Ambrose, for those of you just tuning in to WWE if you were watching it from 2013 to like 2016 maybe. Callahan with a stuffed power driver, but it only gets a near fall. It only gets a 2 count because the referee is down. Callahan kicks out of the package power driver, otherwise known as the Fear Factor, as it's called, on top of the steel chairs. And Penta hits a series of super kicks, and then he hits the Fear Factor again, even though that's not on my notes. I simply remember that. And I gave this match a 5 out of 10. No, out of 5. This match was honestly... So it was almost like a divine fucking angel came down and just blessed my phone, because I'm telling you guys, I was awestruck, on the edge of my seat, heart was pounding. I mean, I was sweating. I was like Mr. Krabs whenever he sees money, you know, like, hey, Mr. Krabs, you're all sweaty again. Gold, 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 gold. So then afterwards, a few people come down to interfere after Penta grabs the clippers and starts shaving off all of Sami Callahan's hair. And after he does, the crowd starts chanting, "Shave his beard, shave his beard, shave his beard." And then he's like, "No, no, don't do it. Don't do it. I'm here fighting with all my might. Like I can't get up. Like I'm being held here against my will." Oh, man. The story here is that it's the biggest moment of Moose's career. The biggest opportunity of Moose's career. Now, I would say this is another one of those, hey, they only told it from one side of the story. They only told it from Austin Aries' side. But in all reality, they told it from both people's side, and Aries did a wonderful job of telling it from Moose's side. So we go to our main event as our challenger Moose faces off against Austin Aries. And honestly, it's a 1-2 clap. It's around 15 minutes. It gets great reception from the crowd. I mean, they don't go as far as they did in the Eddie Edwards Tommy Dreamer match. They don't get as loud as they got throughout the co-main event, which was honestly really fucking good and off the walls. But what they do, not like doo-doo, but like what they do end up doing is the doing, which is like, oh man, this match is really good, you know, let's make some noise. Woo! Yeah, we're a bunch of drunk fucking retards from Canada. Woo! You know, like, they give them a holy shit chant, for instance, corner chops, but only gets a 2 count from Austin Aries. The set down spine buster, which he calls the go to hell. Not Aries, but Moose. But it only gets him a 2 count. Aries with the last chancery, and at that point I thought that the match was all but finished. I thought that it was finito. This is nothing more than a fucking formality at this point. Austin Aries should have been awarded the championship the minute that the bell rung, because Aries is going to win. Let's be honest. Moose don't stand a snowball's chance in hell, especially if he's like, oh man, the NFL was really hard. Oh well, I never won a Super Bowl. Never even been to the Super Bowl. Oh well, I guess I'll try pro wrestling. As if that's going to stop anything from happening here. Off the spear, he only gets a 2 count deal with Moose, because Aries grabs the bottom rope for a break. Moose beats the 10 count after a brainbuster to the outside. Austin Aries wins off the brainbuster after he gets into the outside. So Austin Aries just pokes the eye, and then afterwards, while Moose is distracted with the referee, he picks him up, hits him with a brainbuster, and then afterwards he hits the 1, the 2, the skiddly diddly doo, and Austin Aries picks up the victory. I give this match 3 out of 5 stars. Austin Aries carried most of this match and most of the performance. And it really makes me mad that Moose is one of those people who would compare pro wrestling to something like football, because it's night and day, people. It's very easy to see why in the sports category I'm going to fluff myself once again and say it. I've gotten 85% more content than any of you would ever hope to have. And I hope that by my Spotify Wrapped next year, you'll all know that I have 90%. No, we'll see how far it goes, you know, is my point. That's what I'm trying to get to here. And as you can tell, this episode had more running gags than most episodes that I tend to implement, because usually I just go on a tirade about how gas prices are up this week, and it's cold outside, and My cat kept sleeping on my keyboard this week. Anyway, thank you all so much for joining me. I do apologize that this episode is extra long. I did not mean for that to happen. However, I should have shaved off the time that it took me to wipe my ass and actually decide to dedicate some time to professional wrestling. And you can also thank whatever fucking virus that my computer has for leading me to believe that it's not capturing all of the audio, because as soon as I see that little audio meter sort of freeze, it tends to fill me with anxiety and make me repeat myself until we get it right. Thank you all so much for joining me. This has been the Gut Wrench Podcast, episode number 85, I do believe. Either that or I'm just remembering how much of a percentage that I have over everyone else in my category. Once again, 85 can't be everything, you know. But if I can go ahead and look at that really fast. Oh, I see where it's at. Okay. Episode number 84. Thank you all so much for joining. Yeah, it was an 85. I was trying to skip one there. Thank you all so much for joining me. Good night. And, that's a wrap.